And we are back. I want to say it's been a while, but it hasn't. We may have missed a week, but you know what? I have to stop doing announcing when we've missed a week. I think you guys have given me enough grace and understand that um, life is happening just like um, it is happening for you. It is happening for me, and to this point, we've created spaces for each other and allowed each other to go through the ebbs and the flows. Um, and that is happening, and we continue to do that. I am happy to be able to create space, though, to do this, to find time to come together with you guys to talk creativity. I always look forward to these. However off normal we've been, the fact that we're here is good enough. So, we're going to start off how we always start off with exercise and mindfulness, just being present in the moment. A lot is happening outside, and I want to make sure that in the space that we've created, that we can be our whole self and be present in the moment. And we usually do that with an exercise in mindfulness, 10 breaths. Focus on your breath. I prefer your eyes closed, starting now. And we are here. One of the things that we always do right after is I give you guys a brain teaser. This one, I'm not sure if we've had it before. We may have, but if we have, cut me some slack. I have cities, but no houses. I have mountains, but no trees. I have water, but no fish. What am I? What am I? Today is interesting. What I want to talk about is this idea that we've had the conversation about how we're creative beings and how much of who we are is tied to our creativity. And that could be a good thing when you're having huge amounts of creative output, or you've seen success from your creativity. It's easy to align with your creativity when it is in at its height, or it's I don't want to say optimal, because I mean it's continuously growing, but in more productive times, and that production turn into actual rewards or you benefit from your creativity. I think it's easy for it it's easy for you to be attached to it. But what happens in the instant where there are creative lulls? And I use the term lull loosely because it can mean something something different for somebody else. For me, though, what I personally want to talk about is this. I remember there's two instances that I'm thinking about. I remember once I was on a panel and somebody asked, like, what do I do in times when things just don't feel as if though they're going your way? How do you stay motivated? How do you stay committed to the cause? How do you stay committed to your creativity? What do you do to kind of remind yourself that this is for a reason? And I remember responding to that by asking yourself, what is your why? Like, why is it that you're doing this thing? And almost like identifying the purpose, and not necessarily your purpose as a being while you're here, but just the purpose of why you did the thing. And if it's a part of living out your personal purpose, then that's even better. But the idea is just like this thing that is taking up your creativity, or you're using as an outlet for your creativity. What happens when it is not as rewarding in the moments where it's not as rewarding, what do you do? And I remember responding, and I said, again, going back to your why, and as long as you can stay committed to that why, or at least remind yourself of the why, I think it'll be a constant source of motivation and inspiration. And I equate it to, I know when you get married, usually they ask you to write your vows and lock them up in a box. And whenever you feel like you're losing your partner, or your marriage doesn't feel as stable, you go back, you open that box, and you kind of view and renew your vows to each other, and it reminds you of kind of the reason why you were here, or the why, or why you joined forces or joined in this union. And it's almost the same thing. And that's one time I remember this particular moment, that as I'm thinking about this particular moment, I could reflect back to those times. The second time was, I was asked, what motivates you as an entrepreneur? And this was on social media, and I recorded a video, and I remember saying, it takes a certain level of faith and delusion. I think being a creative, especially when a lot of your creativity, or you use your creativity as a source of income, or it's a tool you use that is directly tied to your livelihood, then I believe that there's certain level of delusion and faith that is required. What is the exact combination of that? I couldn't tell you. I think it varies, and it's per person or by person. But sometimes you don't know that what you're doing and what you're creating is going to ultimately be successful, or even achieve the success that you think it should garner. And but we keep going as if though that's the case, and there's no timeline in when your creativity will be rewarded, or if it'll ever be rewarded. So it's this idea of just kind of keep doing the thing until it hits. And for a lot of us, like, how do you know when you're actually, the path that you're on is the path to success? And I used to ask myself that question a lot. And one of the things that serve as like validation would be like little milestones on that path that'll say, hey, it almost like confirms that you're going down the right path, and the destination is not too far away. Here's something that'll let you know that you're closer than you are further away. And that when you get those little milestones, it's almost like a reminder that, hey, or not a reminder, it's like almost confirmation that you're almost there. But what happens when you don't see those milestones as frequently as you used to? They're further apart, and you've been going down this path for like really, really long, and there's nothing to indicate that this path that you're on is one that is going to fulfill whatever this creative idea that you had in the beginning. And what do you do in those moments? And that is kind of the conversation I want to have. The thing that I've been kind of like thinking about and trying to understand. And if you've achieved some level of success and you know what that feeling is like, you know how alluring, or how how much you yearn to achieve that. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the same level of success, because success varies, right? And as we grow, and as we experience it, I think in order for us to get the same joy, it's almost like a drug. You have to just keep getting more and more of it. But what happens when, again, there's a gap in the success that you're working towards? And a part of it can be humbling, but another part of it is almost like trusting the process, right? I feel like what I've learned in these moments is, especially when it comes to our creativity, it's like we take it for granted, and we start to measure it based on the success that it has given us, and we hold creativity against itself, which I think is unfair. It's unfair for you. It's unfair for your creative abilities, because now if there's no visual representation of success to your creativity, you see it as failure. I don't think it's failure. I think the length of time and the gap between success from your creativity isn't failure. I think it's formation. I think a lot of growth is happening underground. It's happening where you can't visually see it, but you can almost feel that it is happening. And you're constantly working towards a thing. I think a lot of the times when we don't see immediate success, we start to question whether or not we are actually going down the right path. And that's kind of the idea that I was talking about earlier. It's like, well, how do you know? And but there's a feeling that comes with that. There's a feeling that, hey, I honestly believe that this thing that I've been working on, this journey that I've been on, is going to be worth it in the end. And even though I cannot see it, and I haven't received or seen any type of like almost like an omen or something to indicate like, hey, you're close. I feel like if you weren't supposed to be on this path, you wouldn't have been. If I wasn't supposed to be here, I wouldn't have been. And as much as I'm questioning it, I understand that I'm not supposed to give up on my creativity. I'm not supposed to give up on this idea. And I'm not supposed to give up on seeing it come to life. And a huge part of it is trusting the timing. And timing is relative, right? And it can mean a really long time or a really short time. And it can be somewhere in the middle. But we honestly never know. And I think in it, and we had talked about this in a previous episode, it's just this idea of like measuring ourselves against our own creative success. But if we're gonna allow, if that is what we do, then it's natural for us to measure ourselves against the failures too, or the gaps or the lulls that happen on this creative journey. And I don't know that how I feel about it is any different from the next creative, from the next person. I think one thing I've learned in this process, and just like speaking to other creative people and people living in their creativity, it's like, this is actually normal. It is actually par for the course. I think, and I know most creatives experience these gaps. And because there isn't a defined timeline, it isn't a 2-day period. It's not a 2-month period. It's not a 2-year period. And it can be. But it is honestly just a part of the process. And when you realize that it's not only you and it's not unique to you, and you realize that you shouldn't be measured against these gaps, I think it creates opportunities for you to learn more about yourself, see how, recognize your ability to adapt and exist in uncomfortable spaces. And one of the challenges that usually happens, especially if you're reliant or you rely heavily on your creative abilities, for survival, you almost feel like you're forced to create out of desperation. And you'll start to do things that are outside of your normal way of creating in order to compensate for the gaps in creative success. But I don't think operating creatively out of desperation produces authentic work or honest work. And as much as it is a means to an end, I would hate that you have to dilute your creativity in order to compensate for this time. But I'm not here to tell you what to do. I cannot tell you what to do. And truth be told, you'll ultimately do what I think what you think you need to do in order to get through this. And that is a personal decision. I got a text message from a good friend of mine who's building something remarkable. And in the message, I remember asking how he's doing. And he mentioned his response made me realize that, and this is another reason why earlier I said that we're not alone, because he too is going through this gap where he's been building something for so long, and he's gradually introducing it to the world, but the runway to continue to create without any reward isn't that long. And for a lot of creatives, that's a challenge. So in those moments, the only advice or only thing I could suggest is, again, go back to your why. Why is it that you chose to do this thing? Why did you give your creative energy to build this particular thing? Ask yourself that question and then answer it. And also understand that even though you might not see the success, or you haven't seen the success in a while, that doesn't mean that it is not around the corner. That doesn't mean that you're not closer to it. There's a level of delusion that is required to see all these things come to fruition. And understand that as long as you continue to push through and be honest and authentic and lean in on your creativity, I think eventually you'll have that breakthrough. Eventually, you are going to see the success. And when you do, you're going to look back in these moments and realize that it was honestly all worth it. Continue to play the long game. Continue to trust the process. Continue to trust your abilities to be creative, your ability to be creative. Continue to trust your creativity. Steady the course. You're on path. I'll end this with the puzzle that started it all. And it is... I have cities, but no houses. I have mountains, but no trees. I have water, but no fish. What am I? I'm a map. I will leave you how I always leave you. Go be great.